Well, hello, hello. This is our November the 18th, 2021 meetup for Southern Fried DNN. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for those of you that are joining us online now live, and also to those of you that are watching the replay after the fact. Thanks for joining us. We have a good day here for you planned. We've got a little bit of a switch up, which I'll talk about in just a minute, but we we may end up with no speaker at all because, I mean, one of our speakers can't connect. So we'll see if that works out by the time we get through announcements there. But I'll start out by saying that Sebastian Leopold cannot join us today. He had a little accident on his bike, and he said it was okay to share. So we're going to share a little bit. He's a little banged up, and he's actually undergoing surgery today. So he's like, yeah, I thought I could do it one-handed, and because he broke his arm as well, or wrist, or somewhere there. Yep. His face is a bit banged up. He said he's looking a bit better on the face, but his surgery got rescheduled to today, and he could not handle that. So we thought we would share a couple of bike stories at some point here. So Ryan, I think you've got one to share there. So we'll circle back to that in just a minute.
Sounds good.
Then the other speaker that we have today is Joe Craig, going to be talking about intermodule integration. I am excited to hear what that is about. We'll see. We'll learn a little bit. I think it's a little bit to do with 2Sexion, but some other modules as well, and how you might be able to leverage integrating those. So hopefully, let's keep our fingers crossed that he'll get connected in time to be able to join us.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask, is my screen showing okay?
Yeah, you're in good shape.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Let's jump into thanking our sponsors. As you probably know already, Manage.com hosts our website, southernfrieddnn.com. Thank you to Manage.com for their kind offering there to host southernfrieddnn.com. And you out there, you can check out, Ryan does a great job at recapping all of the meetups out there and posting those. And Clint, whenever Ryan's not available, usually does that. So those guys do a good job of recapping it. So if you missed one of the meetups and you want to go back into history, or hey, you remember a topic that you wanted to check out, go out there and you'll see a write-up of each one, as well as embedded YouTube playback when they're available. I think most of our previous ones, except for maybe a couple over the past 10 years that have not been, had some kind of technical snafu or something that we couldn't render it, but most of them are out there. We've got quite a history there. So nice resource for you to go back and take a look at. On the announcements, and also we use some Mandeep's modules, the live blog out there. So thank you to Mandeep's and his crew for gracing us with a license there for those modules. This happened right before the last month's meetup, but it was a couple of days before last month's meetup. But just in case you missed that, wanted to make everyone aware that DNN platform 9.10.2 dropped on October the 19th. So if you have not upgraded, or if you're starting a new site, please do check out this latest release. Not a ton of stuff in this, but there was enough to warrant a patch release there. I think it's probably safe to say there will eventually be a 9.10.3 release before we get to a jump to 9.11, but I thought I would go ahead and throw out, I know we kind of touched on this last month, but we may have hem-hawed a little bit on exactly what this was going to look like, but I wanted to make everyone aware of one issue that has been created in the issues tab out here. It's issue 4887, so you can check it out. If you just search for 9.11.0, you'll find this one in there. But this one here kind of details, this is, I guess, for lack of better way to explain it, it's kind of like a project plan for the team on what is the plan for 9.11.0, what that's going to look like, and especially as it relates to Telerik, because that's really the major focus of this release is removal of Telerik. And by default, DNN platform not having Telric in it. So you'll want to take, and play close. Let's try that for the third time. Pay close attention to this opening section here that'll explain kind of what the behavior to be expected. And this is the current plan, so it is all subject to change, of course, but it's good to know that that the team is looking at, really focusing on the removal. The team is looking at, really. Oh,
sounds like some audio coming in from Joe. That's a good sign.
Joe's got audio. Yeah. Okay. Hey, Joe. Focusing on the removal. A little bit delayed of mine. I'm gonna mute that one.
Like some audio coming from Joe. That's
yeah. I muted that one. So hopefully he can unmute it when it's time for him to talk. We're hearing ourselves back there, Joe. So on this one, just kind of be aware of what to expect. It does break what conventional semantic versioning is like, but this is more of a conscious decision by the core team out there to make sure that we really had a security first mindset here and really got a version out that by default does not have Telric in it. And we could have jumped up to version 10 on this, but the decision was made to make this a minor release for this, just because there might have been some confusion, jumping straight to an 11 right after a 10. So the decision was really made just to make this part of the 9 cycle here, but 9.11 would be kind of perceived as a major release here, but in the minor version sector. Anyways, I probably did a nice job of botching that up, but just wanted to make everyone aware. As this evolves, you'll see issues for each of the various tasks or issues that are set up, sub-issues, I suppose, for this, but it gives you the details of what all is going to be the focus of this release. So it's a nice read.
Yeah, nice.
Let's see, quite a bit's been going on with the DNN docs team. We, as you know, things have kind of gotten to a point where we're hosted on GitHub pages, and automation is set up to automatically build the project anytime a pull request comes in, kind of similar to the way it was before, but it's just a little bit more efficient process and easier to manage for us as a team. So we had turned our attention to focusing on really settling on an information architecture that makes sense moving forward. And in the past, we've kind of focused on trying to work with the content that we were essentially inherited from the documentation center from DNN Corp, and really try to just massage that and organize that in different ways. And we've gone through various iterations of that, and some of it's worked and some of it hasn't worked. So there's still quite a bit of disconnect as it relates to a new person coming in here and trying to find stuff and where is stuff and how is it organized. Some of it's nice and some of it is just a mess, to be honest. So we recently had an information architecture proposal put together, and we've been reviewing that. Hopefully you've seen this. If you haven't, feel free to check out the DNN Open Help Slack channel. There's actually a channel for DNN docs in there with a link to this document if you're interested in taking a look at it. But we're about to the point where we're ready to start implementing. And the focus of this, there's a little bit of a write-up of background and kind of why this is a thing now to really look at. But we want to turn our attention to what we need versus what we have, so that we really start developing documentation that is in line with the needs of the various personas that would come out and take a look at docs. So the idea is to have a getting started section, a fundamentals section that really covers all the fundamental features of DNN. So you can see, like here in the administrative section or administration section, it really follows all of the various modules that are in the persona bar. So it really is in context organized the way that you're experiencing it within DNN. So you could imagine, these sections really just documenting the features that are there and the fundamentals of those features and how it works, and so forth. So we'd have, these are kind of persona driven under the fundamentals. So you'd have administration, content management, design, development. And then we get to another major section called extensibility. And these are the various ways to extend the platform. This will all grow, by the way. So this is really kind of a starting point, because a lot of this isn't going to be as simple as just moving existing content into this new structure. And we realize that. So we're going to try to implement a style of documentation for each of these areas. So it's still quite a bit a ways from seeing a lot of this come to fruition, but just know that behind the scenes, this is kind of the direction that we're going, and we'd love to have more input as people look at this and kind of give us feedback on what you think would make sense, or if you want to be involved at trying to help rewrite some of the documentation. One of the challenges has been that there are so many people that want to contribute to docs, but they don't know where things need to go or how they need to format the document. And that's really kind of been a problem. We're trying to solve that problem by having a very clear information architecture and style of the document. So the idea is to put some examples together fairly quickly to establish a pattern and then be able to guide people on where things would live and put placeholders. There will be another top level section for help, that would contain various resources within the community and troubleshooting techniques. And things that are specific to things that go wrong, and have that out there. We do have some troubleshooting documents that are out there already, so a lot of those will just move into this section. Then, of course, the reference will kind of stay the same that it is right now. So welcome any feedback on here. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that would releases be a good place for the new home of the upgrade order list and some of the upgrade and even just the notes about hosting and .NET system changes and requirements for things. I see. You've got it in fundamentals for setup, upgrading.
Yeah, so right now, kind of the setup, those documents sort of already exist. Install DNN still needs a little bit of help, but the rest of these are kind of there. I think the upgrade path is under the upgrade documentation. Granted, this IA is just a high level, so these could run quite a bit deeper and grow out, but this is kind of the overall architecture, if you will. So yeah, do check that out. There's a link to this document. It's just a Google Doc out there, and I'm happy to give access to anybody that wants to comment on this and give feedback. Quite a few have already provided some feedback in here. I think Daniel Vladas, Mitch Sellers, Jeremy Ferentz, Aaron Lopez, Will Stroll. I'm trying to think, Brian Dukes, quite a few people have already chimed in on this. So it's been a good kind of cross section of various types of users of DNN. So I'd love to have more feedback though. It's not going to be perfect, but it hopefully it'll give us a good path forward and really focus on what we need versus what we have. So that's one thing.
Very nice presentation.
A few extensions released in the community, so I won't spend too much time on all this, but just wanted to bring awareness to it. Will Stroll and Upendo Adventures released a new version of their DNN Page Manager solution here, version 1.0.2. So you might want to check that out on GitHub. They're doing a good job at maintaining that. There was a new release of MV QuickSight 2.1.2, and I will say that this may seem like a little patch release, and it is technically, but it solves one of the biggest problems that we've had since day one of MV QuickSight of this permissions. You may have tried to use it and install DNN and run into this, error that comes up about permissions, and it's such a vague error, and we've never really been able to pinpoint it. And I think we have cracked that nut on this one. So some additional cleanup and stuff was done on this, but that was kind of the big one on that. So do check that out. You may be familiar with MV Quick Theme, and we've had a release of that, but also we have a new project that's starting out, this MV Quick Theme Tailwind. It's in its early stages here. But this is, instead of being bootstrap focused, this one is Tailwind focused and kind of a ground up approach to that. So if anybody is interested in Tailwind CSS or having a theme to do that, would love to have your input on this project or participation or contributions on that. But we're keeping it lean and mean and trying to take a real utility first approach with this. Did I miss any community announcements except for DNN Summit? I do want Ryan to speak a little bit about DNN Summit if you don't mind. But did I miss any other announcements?
In the themes area, I'm also working on my template that has options to have no bootstrap, like really basic minimal stuff. I am working on a new release of that one too, that mainly touches the build process.
So I think that's it there, Daniel, the Airware
Yep.
minimal theme. Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That is also a very good resource when it comes to, I mean, you know, we can never have too many of these. People have different ideas on how things need to be, you know, put together, and, you know, one pattern may not suit your needs or your preferences of working. So it's really great to have all these options. And I think Jeremy Ferentz and his team at Accuity has one as well. So some of these are, I mean, they're all opinionated, right? You know, approaches. So it's a matter of which one resonates the best with the tools that you know and are comfortable with and want to work with. So do check all these out. Any other community announcements I might have missed? Okay, well, Ryan, you want to speak a little bit about DNN Summit
Absolutely.
coming up? Is that good?
Love to. So DNN Summit is being planned for the very beginning of February. You know, we've had it kind of forward and backward in the month of February in the past, and this one is happening now in the beginning and end of February. So here we are in the middle of November. This is right around the corner. Obviously, planning forward, we are optimistic that we'll be in a travel scenario that if you want to go to join us in Las Vegas, we'd love to see you there, and we'd love to spend time with everyone in that location. But the point of this conference is that it is a hybrid conference. You can be online or you can be in person. If you do come in person, you know, talking with the main board of people putting DNN Summit together, and several of us here that are on, you know, Southern Fried tonight. We're planning on going. The spending time together and networking and talking with everyone is to me, one of the best parts about being in a community conference. And so I'm looking forward to being there. And we have a lot of good, fun things planned, including open time to cruise the strip and take a look at the different things that are crazy spectacles in Las Vegas. But we do have a set of social events that are planned prospect for the evenings. So that we'll have a Top Golf event, and we'll have some time to gather together in places and see each other. But a lot of that is going to really depend on the amount of people who end up coming in person. So we're trying to be flexible and plan based on who arrives and based on what the situation is at that point in time, because we also want to be safe with what we're doing. But that is to say that I'm looking forward to being there in person. And if you're interested, read up on the website for the in-person social events and information about what's going to be happening in person. But otherwise, for the other side of things, all of the speakers, all of the sessions are online through Hopin, just as they were last year. So information has been posted recently. I know that while Mitch and Cassidy and crew do a lot of work on picking the sessions and getting information together for who's going to be speaking, David Poindexter puts a lot of time into getting the website updated, and you can see the speakers and the information for them online now. I've already been fielding questions. I've already been fielding questions from people who are asking, you know, I want to go do this in person when I'm in Vegas, but I also want to see this session. I don't want to miss it. So I want to be clear that all of the sessions are going to be online. The point is anything that we do in person, when it comes time for sessions, we're all going to go up into our hotel rooms, and we're going to sit in front of our laptops, and we're going to get on the Wi-Fi, and we're going to speak and present, or we're going to watch and participate in sessions. One of the most enjoyable parts about those sessions last year in Hopin was how upfront and you know, in face and close in person all of the speakers were with anyone who was asking questions. So similar to, you know, this format of being online here with Southern Fried, we're online for all of those sessions. So I think that really brings a new game to the speakers and to the conference that we're able to put together. It also means that the slide decks are, you know, really well put together, and a lot of them travel and are shared afterwards. So overall, I think that this hybrid model means that we'll be able to see each other in person if we wish, but those sessions are also going to be fantastic like they were last year. And I think there were some good benefits from that. It's important to mention the sponsors. Dave just went to schedule. Schedule wise, the schedule's posted up. You can start taking a look. As similar to usual conferences, we have different tracks of information, and you can take a look and see that each hour we have those sprinkled around. So there might be design related items and administrator and higher developer level items all mixed together throughout the day. Generally, if you're going for a solid developer track, you should be able to follow the whole day and not have to pick between one and the other. But there are some really good ones out here that'll make picking interesting. So that's a lot of what the questions are that I'm fielding from people are, I want to go do this while I'm in Vegas, but I also don't want to miss this session. So I think people are getting excited about what's ahead. Sponsors, we have had some new sponsors possibly since the last time we discussed and mentioned, but gold top level sponsors. We have many of our friends who are with us online tonight and always support things. So we've got Will Stroll and Upendo, we've got David Poindexter and Envisionative, we've got the folks from Managed, we got the folks from DNN for Less, Jesse and his team, Mitch and Iowa Computer Gurus, Cassidy and her team from 10 Pound Gorilla. They're all of the gold sponsors for this year. And, every year we say that the sponsors are who make events, community events like this happen. And that's no different even now when we're on virtual and we're doing these different things. It's a big deal and it really helps everyone. So we'll look forward to the hop-in online portions where we can all talk with those sponsors and thank them for what they're doing and learn a little bit more about what they do. But there are more sponsorship spots available. So if you are interested in having part of a ticket covered, you could be a bronze sponsor. You could be a lower level sponsor if you want to. If you want to be a higher level sponsor, you can read about the features and benefits you get there, like some of the functions that you get inside a hop-in once you're a certain level of sponsor. How about that? David, anything else you think we should mention about the conference ahead?
That was a good overview. Appreciate that, Ryan.
All right.
Any questions that you have about DNN Summit, feel free to reach out to pretty much any of us, and we can point you in the right direction if we don't know the answer ourselves.
When does the early bird registration price change happen? Let's finish off with that.
I was thinking it was the end of the year, but let's see.
December the 10th.
Oh, December the 10th.
So we've got a little less than a month and the early bird will cut over. So, I know myself, I often watch to see how many speaker or sponsor seats I'll be able to have. And then I go and buy the extra tickets for my crew. So I think everybody's kind of in a holding pattern. I'd recommend going ahead and purchasing. That way we get an idea of the count of people who are going to be attending hop-in, even the online portion. But do be aware that that price change is going to happen after December 10th, and it's going to jump up from $129 up to $199.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that. I'll
Absolutely.
switch back over to this. And Joe, do we have your audio now?
Well, David, our first speaker was going to be Sebastian, talking about internationalization. And you mentioned earlier in the introductions that Sebastian unfortunately had a bike wreck. And we were all talking about that and sharing some stories. I'll share one here in a minute just to bide some time for Joe. But Sebastian did with humor say, be sure to tell everyone to be careful about, wet leaves when you're riding a bike. When you're riding a mountain bike or a street bike or anything like that, be careful with wet leaves here in the fall. I think that's good advice. I've certainly slid or taken a tumble in gravel, but Sebastian got banged up pretty good, and I think it was last night or now here on Thursday he was going to be having surgery on his arm. So we have some prayers and some well wishes going out to him. We've all certainly been there, or at least I've certainly been there. I was going to share the fun story with a little bit of self-facing humor. I rode a mountain bike for 4 years through college, and I loved being on my bike. I rode in the snow. I rode in the rain. I was in the sun. I loved going everywhere that I needed to go in a college town on a mountain bike. And I did that solidly for 4 years. And I said, well, maybe we'll share some crash stories to share some humor. One of my favorite crashes that I've ever had was one of the very first few weeks that I was in college. And during that time, you're getting to know and meet all of your roommates and all of the people who were in first year of college with you. And I was just getting to know all of my people who were in my dormitory along with me. And I was coming home one afternoon to the dorm, riding through the middle of campus. And in this university, you can ride bikes through the open landscaping areas around. And there was this one area that was coming up ahead of me that had a dip and a little bump, a little hill. And if I hit that just right with my mountain bike, I could go sailing in the air, 4 or 5 feet of air, and land comfortably and go. And it's a joy to catch that bump just right and jump with your mountain bike. And that day, I hit that bump just right, and I jumped up about 4 or 5 feet in the air, sailing through the air. And as my bike went up, my tire completely continued its path down the bottom of that hill and continued touching the ground and riding straight off in a straight line ahead of me. Someone had tried to steal my tire, and they had unreleased the quick release. And as long as I was down on the ground, the bike was going to be connected with the tire. But as soon as I went into the air, my tire continued on its path, and I was helming a bicycle with no front tire. And I decided that I had needed to jump off the bike at that point. So I pushed the bike one way. I flew, dug into the ground, and rolled, and my arm and shoulder and knee, I was in the landscape and the grass and the turf. And as soon as I stopped crashing, I heard the laughter, and the laughter started rising, and out 100 feet in front of me was my college roommate. Ah, Ryan ate it. Look, that's my roommate, Ryan. He ate it on the ground. And there was everyone from my dorm standing there laughing their heads off. They picked me up, dusted me off, and made fun of me and laughed about it for a good few days. But it's one of my favorite memories of a crash that had a funny story that I could tell later, because it was quite embarrassing, but I walked away and had a good story.
Oh my goodness, Ryan. That's awful. It makes my body just hurt thinking of you going down without a tire.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully you didn't get your foot under the fork when it landed.
I left the bike. I think that when I crashed, it was more like an elbow and shoulder down and then cartwheeling repeatedly. Did you have a crash story there, David? I hope you're okay. I hope you didn't have a bad crash.
I did. I don't know if it has the funny element of people laughing, but it was memorable, and I learned a lesson through it. I had I don't know if you remember those old bikes with the banana seats on them, and the big tall, kind of like chopperish type.
Absolutely. It was
handlebars.
Like the Harley handlebars.
Yeah. So I had one of those, and man, I was clearly instructed by my parents. The road that I grew up on, later on in life, it got paved, but it was not paved at that point, and it was gravel. So right up from my house, there was this big hill, and it was great in the wintertime because we would go sledding, down that hill and have a great time on the hill. And, but I was not supposed to go up the hill. I had some friends that lived up there though, and I really wanted to go. So one day I just, I went trucking on up that hill. I was fine. I was like, I don't know why I can't go up this hill, but I went up the hill. I thought the problem was going up the hill. Yeah, that wasn't really the problem with me going up the hill. And I didn't get that at that age, I suppose. So it was time to come home, for supper. And so I went trucking down that hill. It's a pretty good little size hill, it wasn't like a little one. And granted, it was gravel, right? Well, those handlebars, they weren't the most controllable. So my wheel started wobbling. I'm like, oh, this is not good. And I'm going down the hill, catching up speed. It started wobbling so much that I lost control and it went sideways, which causes you to flip over. It was the big gravel, the granite gravel, broken gravel stuff. Oh man, that was quite the loss of skin and things like that. And of course, went crying home. Needless to say, my parents didn't have to ever tell me again to not go up that hill. Now I realized that it was not going up the hill that was the problem.
I bet you still have little gravel specks in your knee somewhere.
Oh man, yeah, it was rough. I definitely had gravel, little small pebbles, in the skin, but it was pretty rough. So yeah, not quite the funny story like yours, but it was definitely a memorable one nonetheless. And
Well,
I guess
Sebastian,
that was
we
my
hope-
favorite crash story, Mark. So
Well, Sebastian, when you see this later, we hope you're doing well, and we hope that you don't scare away from being on a bike. I hope you get right back on again in a year or so when your arm's better.
Absolutely, Sebastian. And we will have Sebastian back on and reschedule him for this. So if you were looking forward to the localization conversation and the internationalization stuff, don't fear. We'll try to get Sebastian back on when he has been on the mend and can commit to having both hands, preferably, to doing that. Joe, were you able to get connected? We'll take that.
Oh. I'm sorry, I put myself on mute while you guys were talking. Can you hear me now?
We can. That is just in the nick of time. Thank you for joining us, Joe. We'll turn it over to Joe. Joe's a true OG in the DNN community, as many of you know. He's probably the most posts on forums by anyone in our community over the years. Was very active way back in the day as well as now. So it's nice to have you on speaking. Of course, Joe is also organized DNN Con up in Baltimore and is always heavily involved in the community. So you're in for a treat with Joe here. So Joe, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay, and I'm going to try and share my screen. Is nothing working today? Can you? Nothing. Can you? Oh, you can. Can you see my phone number?
We can see your phone number.
Yeah, we can see you. You're not sharing your screen though.
Quick, right.
You should be able to click that green button down at the bottom of your Zoom.
I'm clicking that darned green button like crazy. I switched to telephone for the audio. But would you like to hear my bicycle story?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, there is no story. The end. You're welcome. Thank you. I don't know what's going on here at all.
Note to self, Ryan, we need to do practice sessions.
Well,
once
maybe this is actually a cautionary tale. This is the first time I've tried to do a Zoom meeting after having updated a couple of weeks ago to Windows 11. I am using Chrome and Firefox.
Joe, are you in the browser or are you on the Zoom client? Because you can't share your screen in the browser.
Okay, the client wasn't even working for me.
Yeah, you won't be able to share your screen unless you're using the Zoom client. I'm on Windows 11. If that makes you feel any better, it should work.
Okay. Let me.
I'll try to search for the download for you here.
We can also try and pass content to David that he can present maybe.
Okay. Can you drive for me, David?
Absolutely.
I will. Let's see if I can send you a direct message with my password. So.
Okay. Those are coming through. Let me get my screen shared back.
Okay, so you're there, and use the /login with the credentials I told you. And
I've got the keys to Joe's kingdom now.
Does this presentation come with ukulele background music? I think it should.
I have not done that yet. So a little background here. I put can you open up an incognito window and just go to the site without all the uke-info.com? Okay, so you don't need to see all the stuff you're not supposed to see. So a couple of years ago, I took up the ukulele, and I was trying to find local groups and things, where it's not a whole lot of fun to sit at home and not interact with other people. Music needs to be played with people and shared with people. And it was very hard for me to find groups and things like that. And eventually I started to find them, and I decided that if I couldn't find them, other people might not find them either. So I put together a site, and if you'll scroll down a little, Dave, a little bit further. So the idea was to put together a site where people go up a little higher, go back to that first group. Stop there. To put together a calendar and directory of groups and jams that you could go to, events that you could go to, and that sort of thing. And so I decided that the traditional events type module was not what I wanted, because I tend to find them fairly unfriendly. So if you go back to the window where you're a super user and add /calendar to the URL, then that's the kind of thing you see here. We're in administrator mode, so you don't quite see it that way. So I decided I should try and do something better, and I was aware, having used it before, of another events module from an organization called NA Development. They make an e-commerce thing called Cart Viper that people tend to use. And this one is fairly customizable in terms of displays, but it's hard work, not to say other things aren't hard work. So I wrote the developer and I said, is there any way I can use your wonderful interface for building a calendar of events, but is there a method in your DLLs that will allow me to pull out events and bring them into something else so I can use them more directly? So that's what I did. So let's go back to the previous screen. and scroll down. And I think you have to, and put it in edit mode. And scroll down. Scroll down, get past the, okay, stop somewhere there and up a little higher. We're, okay, so if you'll click there and go to edit template. This is too sexy content, which basically allows you to build all kind of fun and functional things without having to start mastering module development and that time of day. So stop, don't scroll. So stop. If you look at line 27, I list events equals event controller, get all events ordered with recurring events. The trick here is I didn't want to build something myself that had all of the ways you can have recurring events. You know, third Thursday of the month, that's no big deal. Unless the Thursday is on Thanksgiving. So you want the third Thursday of the month unless it's next Thursday. You want other ways of recurring the events. How many times do they occur? How do you exclude certain events? Maybe you want events that has a fixed set of dates, you know, like December 3rd, December 5th, December 7th. How do you do that? It's easy. Starting date is December 1st, ending date is December 7th. You get a daily event. So I didn't want to build that, but the UI and the tools to build virtually any kind of events, from one-time events to things that recur according to all sorts of crazy patterns, exist in the event planner and scheduler module from NA development. And it's a fairly expensive model. I think it's between $200 and $300. But how much money would you spend trying to build something like that yourself? I decided it was quite worth it. And especially when I asked the question, is there a way I can get data out of your modules? And the answer was, sure, just do this. So you can see really how easy it is. After this line 27 to 30, that's all one statement, is executed. I've got every event that occurs in the next year, and I can start playing with them. Line 23 and 24 says, starting today, and for the next year, give me all of the events. And then what do you want to do with them? And if
Did everybody else
scroll down to the render?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry?
You disappeared there for a minute. I don't know if it was just on my end or not.
Oh,
I hear you now, though.
Are you hearing me now? Yeah, I noticed my phone number disappeared. So scroll down just a tiny bit. So I wanted to divide up all of the events into several categories. Events that are happening today, events that are coming up soon, pretty much everything else, and scroll down just a little bit more. Okay, I guess that's it. Okay. There's another similar module. So let's get out of here and go back and switch back to the to that one. So scroll up just a tad, about a quarter of a screen, you'll notice that there is nothing here that says happening today, because there is nothing happening today. Under up next, there is event on the 22nd, which I believe that's Saturday. I guess the other thing I should say was I did this about 2 years ago, and I was just filling up the calendar like crazy with events that you could go to in the last year and a half. Number is 0. Actually, there was one event in Annapolis a couple of weeks ago, and they're doing another one. And if you'll scroll down to further along, so I've got 2, 4, 6 events coming up in the next year. Okay, Annapolis has got a couple of things scheduled, and I'm also including events like DNN Summit, but Ukulele Summit or Uke Fest of all kinds. So there's, if you're keeping score, there's something supposed to happen in Memphis in April. Something that's supposed to happen over on the Eastern Shore of Maryland in June. Something that's supposed to happen in October in Pennsylvania. That's kind of outside of Philly, and there's something that's supposed to happen in Tampa in November. And then if you'll scroll so that's all the events, and you'll scroll down to the bottom, toward the bottom of the page, Dave. I called out the Uke Fest in particular, and the thing here is, if you click on any of the events, there's the link that actually takes you to the events page. I'm not doing anything except providing things to click on that take you to the place where you could do something. So if you click there, say on Tampa, that should take you to their site. So big deal, right? So let's go back. Let's go back to the template. And maybe I should just shut up for a few seconds at this point. Am I being clear about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it this way, and how I am doing it?
Yeah. You're showing and sharing how you're able to get more out of a particular module, and you're able to get data a few different ways. Here you got it, API related way, but you could also go straight to the database. But the point was, you were letting the module do what the module does well, and then not reinventing the wheel.
The problem is if you try going directly to the database, and we'll look at that in a second, the database does not contain a list of dates and times and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. It's not, and so maybe we should go to the calendar page again. Just add /calendar to the URL of the site, not this. Okay, so click on Event Planner Admin right at the top right of the page. Okay, so here basically is all kind of events. So let's go back a page. No, let's go forward a page. Click on Event Planner Admin again. And on the little drop down in the blue bar that says Event Plan Admin Menu right at the top. no, that one. Yeah, click. Is there an add? Click under events, and then there's an add new event on the right. Okay, and we can just kind of. This is not particularly important, but so you can put in the details of the event. Click on Categories tab. And so you can categorize these events, and I've got several, mostly classes, concerts, jams, or strums. At one point, I was trying to cover online events, and I was just getting crazy, with worldwide online events. Open mics, uke fests, workshops. I'm basically not covering anything that's really commercial. So locations, click on Locations tab. So there's a bunch of places, and go up to the top of the page and go get back to the list of tabs, and date and time. This is the big one. So you can specify a start and end date and time, or a duration. So click the check box for is recurring event down at the bottom, very hard to see. So you can see the kinds of recurrences that you can have, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, a list of dates, and scroll down a little bit more. You can specify daily recurrences, or on weekdays. Stop after 13 events, and you can put down a list of dates where the event will not happen. And actually, when you add exclude dates, why don't you put in pick a date for exclude? And okay, I haven't visited this in a while, but there's some you can click return in that text box and see if that adds it to a list. Something adds it to a list, and then hit return, enter.
No, it doesn't do anything, Joe.
Does it? Okay. Oh, okay. We won't worry about that. But you can add multiple dates here, and you'll get a table here and certain actions that go with them. Maybe we have to fill in some other things before it actually lets you do that. So let's not bother with that. But so to respond to what Ryan said, these descriptions are in the database. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to kind of try and reconstruct what will happen on an event. So if something occurs the third Thursday of the month, but not in December, that date will not. You cannot find something in the database that has that date or doesn't have that date because it was excluded. And besides, if you go back to the template, when I do this events on line 27, I get a good, honest C# Razor list of events with the structure of an event, not what might be in a database somewhere. So this is really nice. So now I've got all of the events. I'm starting today, and the events that happen today are these events. So I can just essentially do a query in my events list. And here's an interesting one. I started out saying, you know, if the event start date is today, put it on the list. Well, what if today is the last day of a set of events? You know, it was 15th through the, today the 18th. You know, so if I look at that event, starting with today's date, the start date is in the past, but the event date is greater than or equal to today, so I have to do both of those. Yeah, featured events, which I think the screen says coming soon or up next, is basically I want to take events that have a starting date after today, and I'm looking at that and saying, "Oops!" And what about events? Oh, if events had started before and occurring today, they're not in the future. They'll be on the today's events list. So I figure out what the featured date is and get events that satisfy that date. Future events start after the feature date, not after today, because I didn't want them to appear two places. Okay, and now if you will go over to open up the file subview ukefest.chtml, download one more, that one. And so here I pass in, I guess, the entire list, but only the events that are in the category of UKFest, and I display them somewhat differently. If you'll go up to view, okay, so here is a list that occurs. This is the HTML to make that listing. So I'm putting them in a row in 3-column increments. So if they're 5 events, there'll be 4 in the first row and 1 in the second row. So let's go to subview future. That's up about 4.3, and open that one. And here I'm generating a table, and you can see things like for every event in the future, I get the event start date and formatted as a string. This is the event external registration URL is the link to the page for that event, operated by whoever owns it. Here's the event name, and I also list in that table categories and location. So if you want to go back to just the site, yeah, get rid of the calendar page. Okay, so there is a jQuery plugin somewhere that takes about 1.5 lines of jQuery to turn a nasty HTML table into a nice responsive table here, with all the selectors for how many entries do I want to look at a time. If you type Virginia in the search box, David, or just a V, here's the Virginia one, and erase that. Yeah. Keep going. Get rid of the whole thing. So back in normal times, you know, where I had 60 or 70 future events in the table, that was fairly useful. And so, summary, the idea here is the event planner and registration module is just absolutely terrific in providing me a UI to define events that can satisfy pretty much every recurrence pattern that I've come up with, you know, including everything from single events to all kind of recurring events, events with duration, or just a list of dates. And within any of those, you can exclude a particular set of dates. And I got all that done for under $300. So had I not done that 2 years later, I'd still be trying to perfect that, I think. And I did find some stuff in Googling around where people had code to generate things like that, but they didn't have nice UIs and that sort of thing. And over here, I can take those events from the event planner module, never show the event planner module to a user, but show them the data the way that I want to show them. And if you want to open up another window and go to bullfallsbrewery.com, one word, Bull Falls Brewery.
Sorry, I'm not seeing it. Where is that?
No, no, I'm sorry, new window, new URL.
Okay.
New site.
Yep, trying.
FALLS. No, I'm sorry, Bull Falls Brewery.
All right, sound it out. Is there an animal in there? Is it a moo? Is it a bull? Come on.
.com. Bull Falls is the name of a waterfall somewhere in Wisconsin. So if you scroll down just a little bit, so scroll down a little bit more. So over in the left column under tap room, it's getting close to 5 o'clock, right? We ought to have a beer reference. So here is another. This is essentially the same code that was doing the ukulele stuff. You know, here we have a few events. For the better part of the last year and a half, they didn't have events. So, and if you'll scroll down a little bit more, a little bit more. Just scroll way down, maybe. Keep going. Okay, they've moved the link. Go up to the top. Oh, yeah, go up to the top and click on events in the menu. By the way, David, do you recognize this skin?
I do not. Am I
You
supposed
should. In the quick theme.
to? Oh, you mean the split buttons? Yeah. Nice.
Well, no, the you know, I made some additions to the theme, but I didn't even start from scratch to screw this up well. So here,
Nice.
So here is the default event planner module. Now, I showed you some things I can do with the event planner module. I poked around and I don't remember all of the details, but something like the form and list module is something that is real easy to get data out of And I think the easiest way to do that is there's some fairly simple SQL queries that you can run. And since Too Sexy Content accepts, makes it easy to do SQL query calls or to call APIs to get data, anything that you can get into like that is perfectly compatible with the approach I'm taking here. I have, to be honest, I have not looked at the DNN events module, so I don't know what methods might be in there. And as Ryan mentioned, there are all kind of ways to run SQL queries to get data out of tables. Yeah, in case you want to do something like that. So if anybody wants to make a Too Sexy module to build a file manager, that might be fun. So I think that's it. You know, if you have a module that does almost what you want it to do, and it's not easy to change that, maybe you can find a way to get the data out of it and use it. So that's it. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So let's go to Bull Falls Brewery and have a drink.
Can you play some Jimmy Buffett on the ukulele?
Can I play some Jimmy Buffett's on ukulele? I have not done that, but sure. Am I going to now? No.
Oh, come on. That would be the perfect send out is just a little ditty as we're leaving.
Can you have your toes in the water and your ass in the sand at the same time? I mean, that
would work.
We'd have to change my latitude and my attitude, David.
There you go.
What questions do we have for Joe here? We have plenty of time, so
we need a performance. I think that I see plenty of requests for some ukulele jams and strums and some sounds here to send this out. Otherwise, we're going on a down. We need to go out on a ride. Yay!
Oh, yeah.
It's way out of tune.
Well, that was quite the performance.
The only social event I have done in the last year and a half was a group in Baltimore called the Creative Alliance in an effort to get some work, badly needed work for people who haven't been able to perform. Back in mid-June, when the infection rates were crashing, they basically set up an auction where you could bid on performances by different people, and they would come and do a socially distanced performance in your yard.
Nice. Nice. I like that.
So
Joe, not kidding about it. Yeah, not kidding about it, Joe. In the past, when we've been doing DNN social and after dark and things, we've all talked about how musical and talented people are. Here you are playing the ukulele. David is musically connected as well.
David plays everything.
I know, and we should absolutely be somewhere and have a DNN cover band, and we all just get in there.
Well, I should quote Ron Miles. Oh God, is that the guitar he's picking up? DNN Con Baltimore. He sprung that on us.
Yeah. Well, I have a saying in music, I'll play with any band once. Well, this is interesting.
I guess no questions. Did everybody leave, or there's still people here?
Oh no, we still got everybody here. I know Daniel dropped out because his power went out. He just pinged me and said they're having a freezing rain and it's weighting down all the power lines. So they just
Oh.
went out. So he's running on
Yeah.
generator now, trying to get things wrapped up. But everybody else is still here, it looks like. So
Joe,
yes.
Joe, we had a request from the chat
Well,
line that we don't
I-
need a .NET Core, we need an Encore.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, well, I think you need to give some sort of recognition, prize, whatever, to the person who got up at 5 or 6 in the morning to attend this session.
Oh yeah.
I saw her name on the list earlier. Hi, Eileen.
Yep. She.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah.
Good day. It's actually 9 o'clock.
What time it? 5 hours?
Yeah, we started at 9 this morning, so not an early one.
Well,
like the
thanks for
other
joining
ones.
us tomorrow.
Well,
yes, welcome from Friday,
yeah. Back to the future.
yeah.
Joe, I thought I'd connect the dots for a few people that may not be familiar with C# or Razor here, but the magic, if you didn't catch it, really is that Joe is referencing DLLs that are provided by the other module, right? And this is essentially calling their event controller within that module to be able to get that data. So not sure if everybody kind of caught how he was actually getting the data, but that's the magic sauce there. So they basically just
It
names.
is scary how easy it is to get that data. It's one line and complicated by the fact that I'm specifying a start date, an end date, putting them in chronological order, and converting whatever it is to a structure called a list, which can then be manipulated. And you don't actually, and if you can switch over to one of those subviews in the code, essentially this is driven by a for each construct, which I'm passing in a list and then saying for every element in the list, put some HTML on the page, and essentially that's it. And every now and then I find something that I want to do differently, and it's fairly easy to go in and fix that. But the actual pulling the data from the other module takes one line of code, and there are 3 or 4 lines of code somewhere else that separate out, today's events, next few days events, all of the events in the future, and the ukulele festivals that are pulled out separately. So it's there's as much boilerplate like the several lines up at the top. Then there are actual there is actual code, and you have to do things like, if there aren't any such events, don't do anything. What is he laughing at?
Probably the duplicates up here is my guess.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. So if you want to do a code review, you guys could have fun with this one, because this is casual coding. And if you go back to the main one, you see in all of these calls to render page, there's a count equals today's events dot count. And I actually, and this is where I gave up. Since you're passing in the list of today's events, why do you have to also pass in the count, how many events there are? That was because I could not figure out, I could not get the syntax right to do the count inside of the render page of it. So that's a glaring bad bit of coding for those who code, but it works.
Sometimes it's about getting it done, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when you're doing it for yourself, you can accept less than ideal.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this was, I think this was all in one file with until I chopped down 5 or 6 big loops into the subviews and called them separately, and then I still had to have several different subviews for some of the special classes. I didn't spend any time in trying to figure out how to do that, but I think you can call a subview inside of a subview, but never mind that. Yeah, and just look at the JavaScript at the bottom of the page. That's what you have to do to change a good old ugly HTML table into a nicer table.
So there's your ID
Yeah, so there's some
that he's selecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of connect the dots there a bit.
And I was thinking there was something where you specified the search box, and I was recalling that was in the JavaScript invocation, but I don't see that. Maybe that is what it is, and those 3 things, responsive, ordering, and info, have some other meanings. And my recollection is if you want to put sort arrows on the columns in the table, you can do that. Maybe that's what I'm remembering. I just took all of that out because I thought it was just putting too many things there that nobody would ever use. And if you know what you're looking for, the search box, I think, just does a sorts all the columns in the table at the same time and finds anything that matches anywhere. So it's fairly easy to yeah. So if you search for uke, because everything has yeah, and it does nice paging if you have more than 5 events or 6 events. I think under the show you can show everything, but who cares?
Awesome. Well, thanks so much.
Oh, if you type fest into the search box, I think you get the 2 that are no 4.
It's because
never mind. Yeah,
it's looking in all the columns, so this has fest.
It's looking, yeah. And what happens if you put 06/1 in the search box? Does that get you the dates? Yep.
Yeah, it's looking at all the data.
Yep. Yep. Cool. Okay. And for those who haven't figured it out, I really like Too Sexy Content to do all kind of fun things. Oh, if you want to go back to that Bull Falls brewery page, it's in another different tab.
I think I closed that already. Let's see.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
Well, you would think it would remember it, but
Yeah, so scroll down a little bit. Oh, there's a rotator here that's too sexy. If you scroll down towards the bottom of the page, okay, they've edited something. Go up a little bit, up a little bit. Okay, they got rid of that. Never mind. Go to the menu bar and go to Our Brews. Fourth one. This is a Too Sexy Content module, and essentially beer is a type, and you can go in and click on in the entity type for each beer. You can you have a checkbox where you can make it active or inactive. They have some of these beers that are seasonal, that sort of thing, and on the home page at one point you could list the beers that were currently available at the brew house, and they're just another view of the same set of beer entities, content type on the list, and there was a rotator that also read the list of the same list of beers and did them one at a time. That's a parent-child view that you just skipped through. Okay. Here's the rotator that's just showing what's available. I guess it doesn't say if that's the whole list or just what you can buy if you go in and order it. Fine. And the guy who owns this brewery, Don Zamzow, was at one of the Denver DNN summits, and he was asking me yesterday. I think he was at the
Baltimore Con.
the one this year online.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, somebody's changed the typography of the site. Cool. It's often fun to go back and look at a site that you did and haven't really looked at for a year and a half, and see what they've done with it. Anyway, thanks. I enjoyed it. If anybody has any questions at any time, or questions like how would I do that with this module, I'd be happy to take a look at that and tell you what it is.
Excellent.
awesome. Well, thanks so much, Joe. Really appreciate it. Big round of applause. Yay. I appreciate it.
And thank you for driving for me, David.
You're welcome. I'm not a very good driver.
I've been spending my life recently in Microsoft Teams, and the notion that I can't share my screen is just strange.
Yep. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Ryan, do you have any parting thoughts, or are we good to
No,
end the
sir.
recorded portion?
We can go ahead and say that normally for December, we take a break, and that's when we normally do an in-person event where we get together and eat out or something. And I think maybe we'd like to try and do that this year. So we'll do a little bit of planning. If anybody can be in the area, that'd be loads of fun. But if not, sentiment is the same. Get together with people where you can and when it's safe, and be good to each other. Merry Christmas, everybody, a month early, and we're getting ready to go into Thanksgiving, so we'll be thinking about that again here too.
Yeah, and I will say we'll start filling slots for next year on the schedule here pretty soon. So if you or anyone you know is interested in speaking at a Southern Fried DNN or presenting a topic, let us know. We'll try to get you on the calendar. So appreciate that. We'll go ahead and end the recorded portion of the meetup here, but thanks everybody for joining us, and hope you have a great week.